Good day, doctor. My name is Lim Kian, metric number 271653 from Group 4. So today we will present about the most promising potential market and produce the export plan in a structured manner based on our topic, Australia. So this is our topic, Australia, and this is flat. So we will go through a bit introduction of it. Australia, full name is the Commonwealth of Australia. It is the largest country in Oceania and also the world's sixth largest country. Australia's population is nearly 26 million in 2020. With the world's 12th largest economy, the Australia is a highly developed country compared with others. With the world's 10th high per capita income, it is the high income. Besides Australia also having the third largest human development index and the ninth highest ranking democracy globally as of 2020, Australia ranking highly in quality of life, health, education, economic freedom, civil liberty, and the political rights. Besides, Australia also joined a lot of the intergovernmental organizations such as the United Nations, the G20, the Commonwealth of Nations, the ASEAN, the OECD, WHO, and so on. Therefore, based on the above, the assignment will focus on discuss in detail about the potential of Australian market through export and investigate on its indicate export market. And it also will be identified and explain the requirement and regulation, procedure, and the documentation to export of that country.
Good day to Sir and my fellow friends. I am Su Zixin. My trade number is 271767. Today I would like to share about the export benefit and also export risk. So now I would like to share about the introductions of export benefits. International commerce is especially important in the economic life of tiny Pacific Island countries, as it is in other emerging regions. All these nations rely on imported goods and services to extraordinary degree, including food, fuel, equipment, and industry material, as well as a wide range of manufactured items. Export activity is often regarded as a significant driver of growth, owing to its dynamic and catalytic impacts on the rest of the economy. Throughout, very high trade to GDP ratio predominates, placing this tiny country among the world's most open and externally exposed country. Strengthening this island country, export industry as a foundation for faster growth is a big task. However, recent experience reveals that few of these nations have been able to meet to this challenge, which is export activity has remained constant in many situations and in some others has declined significantly. And lower prices for the region's traditional export, a failure adapt to changing international market conditions, and in some cases, the adoption of the policies and strategy that effectively penalize export activity have all been major roadblocks to trade expansions. So, on May 22, 2012, Craig Emerson, which is Australia's former Minister for Trade, and Mustafa Mohamed, which is Malaysian Minister for International Trade and Industry, they signed the Malaysia-Australia Free Trade Agreement, which is MAFTA, in Kuala Lumpur, and the agreement became effective on January 1, 2013. MAFTA is a comprehensive, high-quality agreement that strengthens Australia's economic integrations into Asia's fast-growing area, and the agreement adds on the benefit that Asia's Australia-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, which began in 2010 for Australia and Malaysia, and has already brought into the Australian economy. MAFTA facilitates access to the Malaysia's market for Australian products exported, and this is accomplished by decreasing or removing Malaysia's tariffs on Australian goods, and this will help Australia's companies compete more effectively in Malaysia. This is because no tariffs are levied on Malaysians, and goods entering Australia. NAFTA decreased the cost of Malaysian products and inputs for Australian consumer and enterprise. NAFTA improves access to the Malaysian market for Australian service provider and lowers a variety of the other trade obstacles. So next, Free Trade Agreement. Establish a foundations for Australia's commercial relationship with trading partners, expanding trade and investment possibilities, bringing money into the Australian economies, and assisting in the creation of employment. And Australia seeks that when high-quality, comprehensive trade agreements bring net advantages to Australia, they are WTO compliant and promote the global trading system. Besides, for New Zealand, they export agricultural goods, while Malaysia has the possibility to export high-quality halal products to suit the demand of New Zealand's rising Muslim community. Furthermore, New Zealand offers opportunity for the building sectors and it sees a significant opportunity for Malaysian firms to supply building supplies and service to the market. Manufacturing business in Malaysia are eligible for a tax exemption of statutory income equal to 10% of the value of increased exports if the item exported have a value added at least 30%. Assumptions for the taxations on statutory income equals to 15% of the value of increased export if the item exported have a value added at least 50%. In short, Malaysia's export to South Pacific market could bring a lot of benefit to the country. It may help the country to build up the economy and at the same time, other countries will leave a good impression to Malaysia. So next, I would like to share about the export risk in South Pacific market. There are many types of export risk. While doing business internationally, company may be affected by more extreme changes in the political environment or fluctuations in the business and macroeconomic indicator than they might encounter in the domestic markets. And business norms and culture differ, currency exchange rates will rise and fall. The difference between success and failure when doing business overseas is being prepared. There will always be risks when entering a new market by identifying those risks ahead of time and putting measures in place to manage the risks can help to minimize their impact on the success on your business. And there are some risks that we'll face while doing export business such as political risk, legal risk, credit and financial risk, and quality risk, and etc. First of all, exporters can face significant political risk when doing business in various countries. Some of these risks are established and well known while others can arise quickly and unexpectedly. An uncertain political environment can hamper export operations in several ways. A trade embargo could affect deliveries of goods. Civil war or political violence could affect the safety of your staff and partners. Political instability could result in default on payment, confiscations of property and assets, and blockage in transfer of earnings. And for a new elections, sanctions or pressure from other country governments, and civil unrest can all rapidly change a political situations. And when the political situations in a country changes or deteriorates, companies operating or doing business in that country could face a range of problems. Government could seize assets, and business may have trouble moving money in and out of the country. Not only that, customers could default on payments if their businesses suffer during times of political turmoil or changing government policies. This is because political risk can be difficult to predict and mitigate directly, and export businesses can focus on closely monitoring the political situations in the country in which they operate. So next is legal risk. Law and regulations vary around the world, and what is a common practice in one country may not be so in another. As a result, exporting company could face legal issues related to a number of areas of the business, and including custom, contract, currency, and the liability and the intellectual property rights involved with the products they sell. So, one of the best ways to mitigate the legal risk of exporting is to hire legal advisor either located in given country jurisdictions or with proven expertise in dealing with local law. And the last thing a company wants to do is get bogged down in prompt legal disputes in an unfamiliar country that involve local legal issues. And relying on trusted legal advisor can go a long way toward avoiding and even anticipating and proactively dealing with potential legal issues. So the third risk is credit risk. When doing a business internationally, the risk of non-payment or default by customer is one of the key issues exporter must deal with. Indeed, export credit risk is among the most significant financial risks that a company will face. Getting a delinquent customer to pay is difficult even when that customer is down the street. It can be exponentially more difficult when the customer is in another country. Even assessing the creditworthiness of an international customer can be difficult. Not all the countries have detailed information about the customer past credit history or credit materials. And to mitigate this credit risk, exporters often rely on payment in advance or credit guarantees such as letter of credit before making shipments. And unfortunately, taking this step could delay shipments or exclude potential customers that are unable or unwilling to provide these documents, causing exporters to lose out on business opportunities. So, export credit insurance is perhaps the most effective way to deal with export credit risk. In addition to provide payment in the event of a customer default, credit insurance can also provide important credit information about current and potential customers, allowing exporters to make more informed credit decisions. So in conclusions, there are many risks will be happening during export activities. Therefore, all the business company and export company must be aware of the risks and take prevention of those risks so that the risk can be avoided. So that's all from me. Thank you.
A very good day to Dr. Fairuz. I'm Saipin with Metri number 270104. I would like to continue with the market entry options. There are several export entry options that an exporter can use to enter the Australian market. The first option is indirect export. Indirect exporting is a process of selling products to a middleman such as agents, export management companies, or export trading companies and let the middleman to sell the products to the customers in other countries or to importing wholesalers. There are three advantages that I'm going to discuss about the indirect export. The first advantage of indirect export is the exporter does not have to waste time and allocating budgets to search for purchasers. This is because the middleman will help the exporter to find potential buyers in foreign countries. The middleman will act on behalf of the exporter in dealing with the quantity, price, and delivery matter with the buyers in the foreign countries. The next advantage of indirect exporting is the exporter does not need to involve much in the process. This is because every process from the international shipping procedure to the legal and financial issue will be taken over by the middleman. The last advantage of indirect exporting is that the exporter can take the opportunity to create a partnership with the middleman. When the middleman has frequent contact with the exporter, the middleman will try to help the exporter to increase his or her company's sales volume. Therefore, a partnership has been formed between the exporter and the middleman. Move on to the disadvantage. One of the disadvantages of indirect exporting is the exporter's profit will become lower. This is because the exporter has to pay a certain amount of money to the intermediary as agreed before the indirect exporting process. Another disadvantage of indirect exporting is the exporter will have less authority on the selling price of the products. This is because the foreign country buyers will bargain with the intermediaries but not with the exporter. Therefore, the selling price of the product will be decided by the intermediary and not the exporter. The last disadvantage of indirect exporting is the exporter do not have the opportunity to get closer to the customers, thus cannot deliver value-added services such as after-sales service to the customers. This is because the intermediary is the one to deal with the overseas customers. When there's any problem with the products, the customers will deal with the intermediaries and not the exporter. Indirect exporting is suitable for small and medium-sized enterprise because it requires less cost and less involvement. If a newly established company with less support wants to enter the Australian market, the company can implement the indirect exporting mode. The next option that an exporter can use to enter the Australian market is direct export. Direct exporting is a method that an exporter or an organization sells products directly to the customer in the foreign market. One of the advantages of direct exporting is the exporter and customer will get to know each other. Both the exporter and customer will feel more secure in the transaction as they will get to know each other. The next advantage of direct exporting is the exporter will get more profits. This is because the intermediaries such as the agent, export management companies or export trading companies will be eliminated in the direct exporting process. The last advantage of direct exporting is that the exporter will receive feedback immediately from the customers. When the customer is facing a problem with the product, the customer will know who to contact. The exporter will give an immediate reply to the customer to solve the problem. Move on to the disadvantage. One of the disadvantages of direct exporting is the exporter will be facing higher risk. With direct exporting, the exporter will be facing various types of risks such as legal risk, interest rate risk, liquidity risk, credit risk, and so on. If the exporter cannot handle the risk, it will bring troubles to the exporter. The next disadvantage of direct exporting is the exporter need to search for potential buyers in the foreign country. Unlike indirect exporting, there will be no middleman to help the exporter to find potential buyers in foreign countries. Therefore, the exporter must personally travel to foreign countries to search for potential buyers. The last disadvantage of the direct exporting is that the exporter is responsible for the logistics issue. The exporter must make sure that the export documentation and cargoes are well prepared before and after the products have been delivered to the foreign country. Direct exporting is suitable for a company with a stable financial position and an excellent export-import team. If a well-established company with full of resources and knowledge wish to enter the Australian market, the company can implement the direct exporting mode. Another export entry option that an exporter can consider is the greenfield venture. Greenfield venture is a type of export mode or foreign direct investment where a parent company establishes a subsidiary in a foreign country. One of the best examples of a greenfield venture is with Tesla. In the summer of the year 2019, Tesla has successfully set up a gigafactory in Shanghai, China. Tesla has spent around $2 million and took 168 working days to complete the Shanghai gigafactory. A company that chooses greenfield venture as their export strategy wishes to control its operating activity at the highest level in the foreign country. For example, if Proton Holdings wish to enter the Australian market and obtain full control of its operational activities, Proton Holdings can implement the greenfield venture by setting up a factory, office, and technologies in Australia. The last export entry mode that an exporter can consider is acquisition. An acquisition is a situation that a company purchases more than 51% of another company's share to obtain the authority of the company. The acquisition is one of the easiest ways to enter the foreign market as the brand name, the assets, and the working personnel from manager to normal worker have been there for some time. One of the most successful acquisitions in the world is Google and Android. On the 11th of July 2005, Google officially bought Android for $50 million. Since then, Android has become the most famous mobile operating system in the world. If a big company wants to enter the Australian market, the company can choose to acquire a company in Australia which is struggling in the local market. By doing so, the purchasing company can successfully enter the Australian market to expand its operations. And the struggling company will get the funds from the purchasing company to continue its operation in the local market. I will end my presentation here and I will pass to my team member to continue with the presentation. Thanks.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi to everyone. My name is Ruzana Abdul Wahid. My metric number is 272144. My part is I want to explain about export cargo at the Austria. Next, I will explain about type of storage method for cargo. Firstly, general cargo. General cargo in Australia, communities are usually shaped in general cargo. As you can see, figure 4 is one of the example that general cargo that used at Australia. Next, actionable cargo. Actionable cargo is usually to carry commodities consisting of grains like rice, wheat, dry fruits, and so on. As you can see, figure 5 is one of example that actionable cargo that used at Australia. Third, special cargo. Special cargo is usually carried for special items like vehicle, factory components, and so on. As you can see at figure 6, that's one of example that one company from Australia that carrying body trim. Next, I will explain about the label and markings. All packaged goods have a label to make it easier for delivery. The marking must be in English at least one side and on the cartons, and at least two sides on the forklift. The Australian government has stipulated that the marking must measure like this: height and width of 1.5 meters, and the label mark shall be at a height visible to the operating floor operator as well as visible to the forklift operator. Next, the mark must be durable, weight resistant, resistant to sunlight as well as waterproof. As you can see at figure 7, that show the shipping marks and how to label cartons.
Good afternoon, doctor and my fellow friends. My name is Eric Tan Zilun, and my metric number is 271516. Now I would like to present about the pricing. So pricing refers to the process of defining the amount of funds a manufacturer could receive in returns for goods and services. The pricing methods is used to determine the cost of goods that both the producer and the consumer agree with. Pricing of goods to be exported depends on a few factors: the demand for exported goods in the international market, competitive environment, and regulation of the government should also be evaluated by the exporters beside manufacturing costs. As a company want to enter the Australian market, we need true export pricing strategies. These strategies will help the company to gain the market share in the Australian market. The product's quality is the main factor to decide a product's price. Means if the product quality is high, the price will become more expensive. The company provides high quality goods and services to satisfy its customer. Australian consumers are very looking to the product quality because they want to feel valuable for the goods or services they have purchased. So there are a few basic pricing strategies used to enter the Australian market. So the skimming pricing is to set the price higher in the initial stage of the product life cycle in order to maximize the profit and recover the investment as soon as possible. The reason why companies use this marketing strategy is that buyers subjectively believe that these high-priced products often have high value. By targeting middle class and upper class consumers, hence, we may set our product price higher than other competitors. This strategy is skimming the prices using the highest possible price to get the largest short-run profit possible. Then, over time, prices are gradually reduced to allow new products to enter the market with greater flexibility. For brand new products, products protected by patents, products with low price elasticity of demand, popular products, and products whose future market situation is difficult to measure, the skimming pricing strategy can be adopted. So the second one is penetration pricing. Penetration rate is mainly used to measure the popularity of product among the public. The concept of penetration is often used to predict the future market size of a new category. For example, the number of electric vehicles in China is about 1 million, while the number of motor vehicles in my country is about 300 million. However, many automakers expected that the penetration rate of electric vehicles will increase substantially. Therefore, the scale of this market is not limited to the current analysis of hundreds of thousands of vehicles, but will increase exponentially. The penetration pricing method means that the manufacturer enter the market with a relatively low product price when the market is relatively earlier. The purpose of this is to accelerate market growth in the short term and obtain higher sales and the market share. But the penetration price is not necessarily cheap, but relatively to the value and cost of the product, the pricing is lower and the gross profit space is small. Alright, for the third is the competition. So setting prices simultaneously among as competitors generally referred to as competitive pricing. This strategy is based on the price of a river that has been obtained through extensive study. There would be many companies providing same or extremely same products to the market. So according to the perspective of classical economists, the price of these products are theoretically in equilibrium. Therefore, by setting the same price as the competitor, the newly established company can avoid the cost of price, trial and wrong price in the pricing process. However, every company is different and its costs are also different. In view of this, the main limitation of the competitive pricing method is that it cannot account for the difference in cost between companies. Therefore, this pricing method may be less efficient and lead to lower profits. So for the factor that affect export price have three, which is interest rate differentials, purchasing power priority, fear and the Brexit factors. So for the interest rate differentials is the main important factors that proportionally rewarding the investor from investing. While the purchasing power parity is like the rate of exchange is balanced in two totally different economies with the same products. Okay, so for the fear and the Brexit factors is the investor always have prefer gold and the US dollar consider safer areas protecting investment well during periods of recession unstable and rising inflation. For the time being, the Australian dollar has also been added to the list. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Good day, Doctor and all my friends. My name is Ho Jia-ying and my matrix number is 271816. So now I will start to present the export documentation that need to prepare if want to export the good to Australia. First document is commercial invoice, which is a piece of the paper as a proof for the trade transaction. And this document usually used for the custom declaration that determining the custom tariff or tax. All the information need to clearly specify in the proper format document to avoid any problem or delay in the clearly goods across the custom. And the information that listed in the commercial invoice is price, weight, and quantity of the goods, and the terms of the trade that both exporter and the importer of the contract agree to. Second document is the packing list. The packing list is not a legal necessary document that should be prepared for the custom, but it is beneficial to include it in the shipment because it facilitates the export and import process for both the shipper and custom. This document is great to keep track of each shipment, content, and information. For example, the manner in handle which the goods are packed, as well as the weight and the size of the good in the container. It allows the buyer and seller to correctly measure the item or goods they obtain and in the event of an error compensate the exporter of the good. Third document is certificate of insurance. This document is protect the importer and the exporter from the loss to the product when they are in transit. On behalf of the shipper, a licensed insurer will issue a certificate of insurance for underwriting the risk or loss exposure. Certificate of insurance also acts as a proof of the risk coverage for the good delivered. The information in the certificate of insurance should be accurate and without any misrepresentation in order the process of compensation can be proceed fluently if there is any loss or damage. Next is inspection certificate. This document required at custom and supposed to contain the inspection company information and identification. Also required when shipping high value goods or when dealing with a particular attentive customer. Inspection certificate is certificate that the goods was in good condition when inspecting and ensure that the good delivery is what the customer requests and acceptable quantity. Exporter and inspection company may be able to work together to address the problem in certain cases. Next document is consular invoice. This document is used for shipment of the good that has been authorized by the consul of country to which the goods are being shipped. The value, quantity, and the type of the good can be evaluated through this document. Some countries will require the consular invoice to facilitate the custom and the tax collection. This document is used for avoid the shipment from being misrepresented due to being under as well as over the amount of the invoice. So before goods are shipped to the import country or Australia, the consular process must be complete. Moreover, bill of lading, which is BOL, also need to prepare if want to export the good to Australia. Actually, this document is a legal document or contract between a freight carrier and the shipper which that specify the form, amount, and the destination of goods that being transported by a carrier. When the carrier delivers the goods to a specific spot, the bill of lading also serves as the shipment receipt. This document used as confirming that the item has arrived in good condition and standby for delivery. And this document must be properly signed and dated to reflect the actual date the cargo was loaded. Next is the certificate of origin, which is an important document that need to prepare if want to export goods to Australia. This document specifies the country in which a product or goods was produced. There are certain countries that set a complete ban on other countries, or there are the lower duty imposed in some countries. The product origin, destination, and export country are all listed on this document. For an example, the goods which manufactured by Australia will mark made in Australia. So this document is very important because it can help the Australian custom decide if such products are liable for import or if they are subject to duty due to their origin country. It is required by many international agreements for cross-border trade. The last document that need to prepare if want to export goods to Australia is export license. So actually this document is a government issued permit that allow exporter to send such goods to specific country. This product may be strategy in nature, short supply, or regulate to comply with international agreement. That's all from me. Thank you.